fun seriously. No, don't blow this year's chance, because tomorrow your mold goes back on, after Halloween. You go to work today, you'll go to work tomorrow. Shit-faced tonight, you'll brag about it for months. Remember what I did, remember what I was back on Halloween. But what's in between? Where are your ideas? You sit around and dream for next Halloween.
Essentially, just be who you are. Note that people will give you shit for that because you're not adhering to their ideals of how you should be or how a certain person should be. And just accept people for who they are, do your own thing, everyone does their own thing, chill out, enjoy it, appreciate it. If you don't like it, all you got to do is turn your back.
And turn your back to what?
Well, to what you don't like. You know, there's a lot of punks who turn their backs on society, or the crust gutter punks actually become homeless and just say, fuck it, I don't know for this shit. But yeah, it's making your own decisions and not just following other person's decisions and parrot what it is. Breaking away from the herd, not being a sheep. Thinking for yourself. Ultimately, it's a means of realization. I think punk is, you just realize that you've actually got the power over your own life and you don't have to listen or curtail to what anybody else says how you should be living yours. Strength. Punk strength, man. Put that on a t-shirt.
London needed a punk shop, and the store was punk rock because that's what we were into. So that was what we did because that was what we were into. You know? The National Lottery gave £100,000 to some people who then split it up into 10 different parts of £10,000 each, and put on a load of exhibitions at the Barbican and at the ICA, which I've never been to, and I don't think punk rockers go to at all, because it's not for them. They're just doing it because they're people that put on exhibitions every year.
It's just something to exhibit about.
It's just another thing. It's just another thing, and sorry, it's only Sex Pistols anyway, really. You know what I mean? So long as they're still young people, yeah. So long as they're still politicians ripping us all off, then punk will exist, because those are the two variants that punk rock needs. It needs youth and it needs corrupt politicians. Yeah, and we got plenty of that going on at the moment, right? So, so there's definitely a place for punk rock. Explaining, really, you know, it's punk, and that's it. It's a genre. It's a genre like rock and roll. You want me to explain that? Do you want me to explain heavy metal to you? Do you know what I mean? Like, these things don't need explaining, do they? You either know what heavy metal is or you don't. And if you don't know what heavy metal is, then you're probably not going to like it anyway. Same with punk.
I don't want to fall into just a category in society, character, ooh, or whatever, but yeah, I identify with punk. It did a lot for me. It's the age of awakening for myself. Always liked the look of punk. It looked very, it sort of, you know, had good attitude to it, good aesthetic. The spikes, the hair. Had a mohawk for the first time when I was about 9. White guy, white minority in the country, and still everyone sees you as the oppressor. You know, I was born into this sort of original sin, not really doing anything wrong, but people around you. It's a bit of angst in the air between races. That was interesting. Again, the whole racial thing, you know, people not trusting the white man, and that whole thing of being like, oh, I haven't really done anything wrong, you know, can't help the way I was born. In the case of South Africa, you know, sort of racism beget racism. Once they were done with apartheid, where black people were horribly oppressed and, you know, racialized against. Now that there's a lot of stigma and hate for white people, even, you know, white people hating other racist white people. fairly justified to hate on the racists, because that's a bit wrong. You know, you're entitled to your views, but then just when you're immediately seen as a white person and somebody assumes something on you, that I think is where it all started, that always thing going out through my life on people assuming something on you.
No, I think I'm like a driving force. So I'm like, I like sort out what songs I want to do, and they're like, come on Mark, you gotta learn this. It's probably a bit more like that. For old Mark. If someone was into punk in 1978, in that area, I would have known them. It was like that. Whatever, you know, the 1978, 1979, 1980 in Yeovil, it was, yeah, pretty grim. Pretty grim existence. It wasn't like a decision. I'd grown up moving from one place to another every 4 years. I was just following what I like doing, and I like music and gigging and stuff like that, so that involved travelling, and just gravitated to London. It wasn't a decision. I didn't make a decision to go to London. I just ended up here.
I don't know, I can't remember anything.
It felt, there wasn't like loads of restaurants and bars and people out every weekend. It wasn't like that at all. It was, you know, a lot more empty. A lot more empty. The environment I was in was political. Mm-hmm. The environment of today, yeah, it was quite political.
So were you there in Thatcher's?
Exactly, yeah. But I'm not political. When I wasn't political then, I was just in a political environment. I consider myself more, let's say artistic, a bit autistic. Yeah, probably more. I wanted to create more something that you have to think more deeply about, rather than just you should do this, you should do that. That's wrong, that's right. So no, I'm not really. That's not what I'm about. Life is unfair. That's just the way it is. Life is unfair. You know, if you're in a survival situation, you get eaten by a bear. You can't go to the Human Rights Court and say, I got eaten by a bear. That's patently not fair. That's just life, mate.
There's a lot of people, particularly from the millennial generation, who's always looking for somebody else to blame. Sort of not my fault situation. I mean, that's an attitude that I find with a lot of people.
It's inexplicable. It's the same as, for me, it's the same as what we were talking about just now, about this group fighting this group, down and white. It's like, actually, we're all human race. And if you've got something going on, you're going to share it with your mates. Everyone does. You're not going to give it to a load of people you don't know anything about. You're going to share it with your mates. And that's all that's happening at every layer of society. We're sharing it with our mates. And we're trying to put rules in to stop that happening. But it doesn't matter what rule you put in, it's always going to happen. And human beings are going to be themselves. They're flawed. Human beings are just flawed. You can't do anything about it. So this is what we have. You can't change it, that's just the way it is. What you have to do is get in it and make your little contribution to changing it.
When you finish school, you know, school certainly, you're just growing up in school, out of school, learning throughout life, and then you actually notice how things around you work, and they don't work that efficiently. You know, the governments, you know, they're painted there like, oh, a country needs a government to look after the people, and we're all up for your rights. Not the case. You know, actually you see a lot of the stuff that government does, and they just exploit its people, especially in Africa, where the government is wretchedly corrupt. Kenya particularly so. The police are corrupt. Every form of authority is corrupt. So it boils down to, you know, authority for authority's sake, which again in secondary school, you know, I'm in the top grade, I'm in the top year. you as a new kid must respect me. Well, why? I've done nothing to earn my respect. You're merely demanding it for something as banal as I'm a bit older than you. Respect is earned. I can just be myself, and you know, I had that attitude and I was exuding it, like, yeah, that fuck off attitude, you know, like, fuck off, I'm my own person, no one knows me, they got no preconceptions of me. In fact, it's quite exotic to be a white person from Kenya. People are baffled. They're like, what? You're not black? What? No, don't tell me I can't do this because of cultural appropriation, you know. I was born in Africa, grown up as a white person. So far I've been the guy who's always guilty of being privileged, guilty of being white, guilty of being racist, guilty of having what I don't have. I'm like, fuck, you know. So don't give me this cultural appropriation shit, because I've never really belonged anywhere, and it's you lot that have made me feel that way. I'm a designer that luckily plays a lot into design and creating products, is figuring out how things work and how to better them through understanding how they work and how people use them. You know, it's all about betterment, really. Changing things up for the good, because that's evolution, is change, you know. So that's what I believe punk is all about. Punk signifies change.
Whiskey woman, don't you know that you are driving me in?
Ah, fuck.
Insane! Look at you, give such a will to live, gets right to my brain.